Hello and welcome to my introductory walkthrough of the Roto auction cheat sheet for Mr. Cheat Sheet. I am Mr. Cheat Sheet, better known as Luke in the real world. So what I'm going to show you here is the brand new 2014 cheat sheet to hopefully guide you through it if you do have questions. Right here you see a newly downloaded cheat sheet, and what'll happen when you download it, typically unless you have settings altered, is it'll say, hey, this is from an internet location, do you want to enable editing? And you'll say, yeah, that's cool, I'll do that. And then after you do that, it'll prompt you with another little thing. Oops, maybe. It'll say some content has been disabled. Do you want to enable content? And you'll be like, yeah, sure. And then what happens is you start to walk through setting up your cheat sheet. The whole idea of these Excel cheat sheets is that they are completely customizable to your needs. There are so many variations of fantasy baseball leagues out there, and this tries to cover as much as it can to be specific to your league type. So what you could do is, if you have one of the previous versions of the cheat sheet, you could load the document or load the settings that you had from there, in addition to any keepers you had put in, or you could save settings once you get to the point where you have this kind of configured the way you'd like for loading into any future documents. But when you proceed to step 1, you set up your league. So in a Roto auction league, you're first going to be setting your Roto categories. By default, it is set up to do a 5x5 typical setting with the average through stolen bases and wins through whip. But maybe you're in a funkier league setting that uses slugging percentage or on base percentage, or uses quality starts instead of wins. Whatever it may be, you can set those categories here. In addition, you'll set how many teams are in your league, because that's pretty important too as far as determining value of every player. And then you set the position starters. And the reason you're doing all of these things is it'll help determine how many starters you have remaining on your roster and what the value of each starter is in this league. So after you have those set, you'll also set your auction settings, such as the minimum bid and the budget and the number of players on each team. That'll help determine the value of the players as well. And as you're tracking your draft, you'll want to have the team names set up so that you can say who won each auction, each bid. So you'll want to set the team names there, and that should just take a second. Then if you're in some sort of funky league where, well, maybe you're in NL only or AL only, or maybe you're in some really random crazy league that uses some of each type of league, or teams from each type of league, you could set all that there. But by default, it's set to do a mixed league. Then on the final step, this is where you determine what sort of data you want to use in your cheat sheet. So your average auction value could come from mock drafts from Yahoo, it could come from the experts at ESPN, or the fine folks at Fantasy Game Day, whatever you'd like here. I recommend, if you're in a CBS league, maybe set it to the CBS settings. If you're in an ESPN league, set it to do that, because those are the values that your draft mates will be seeing in their drafts. So you kind of want to get an idea of what they're looking at, because that'll help determine what they're going to bid most likely. In addition to setting the auction values, you'll set your source of projections, and this is very important because this will determine the value of each player you're looking at. And if you've read my posts on the website, you know I'm a fan of Steamer and Fangraphs and many of these folks here. You can choose whatever you'd like. If you want to do your own weighted projections, you can do that, and then you'll be presented with settings to set up your own weighted projections. Or you could do your own imported projections and then follow the template on my website to import your own projections. But I personally recommend using my special blend, which you can read about on my website, but basically it takes averages out the different projection sources to form a wonderful little custom projection. And finally, you can set rankings as well if you'd like, as another expert opinion within the cheat sheets. And not well, that wasn't really finally, but here's the finally. You can set the pitcher hitter dollar split. Maybe you really want to favor pitchers heavily or hitters heavily, you can set that there. Okay, so you've configured the cheat sheet to your personal likings and you have it all set up to go. Now it's time to look at all the data that's being thrown at you and get ready to track your draft. So this is what you see when you start up the cheat sheet. You get your player name, you get your position, you get all that basic data. Then within this section, the auction data, you start to see their current projected dollar value based on the projections you chose, the expert rank based on the expert rankings you chose, and then these are the from the average auction values. The original dollar value is the value of the original settings for that particular expert that you chose, and the adjusted value will change throughout the draft based on who is remaining, because value is determined by what's left in the player pool and how many dollars are left. And then worth ranking, this is based off of my worth roto values, and worth roto values are basically just standard deviations above or below average for each player in the roto categories that you chose. In addition to the total worth total, which is adding up all those z-scores or standard deviations, there's position adjusted worth, which is what is used to determine the auction value. And position adjusted worth takes into account replacement level players to put the worth values adjusted to that. So maybe a catcher like Buster Posey is going to have a pretty big boost to his position adjusted worth value versus somebody like a outfielder like Mike Trout, who doesn't really have a huge difference between his raw worth total and his position adjusted. So you have all of that data. You have the projected stats over here to get a glance at all of that. A lot of stuff for you to look at as you're determining who you want to draft. So this is great to look through as you're planning out your draft day. You can make notes over here. Adrian Beltre is awesome if you'd like, and then as you're going through your draft you can remember, oh yeah, I thought he was awesome. So this is also, if this is too much for you to look at, you can hide the projected stats, you can hide the worth values if you'd like. You can make this a lot smaller. Of course the logo up there gets kind of messed up, but whatever you'd like, you can customize this to be. Aside from that, if you do want to change settings, as you can see right there, those dollar values, like 53 for Cabrera, is based off of what we already set. But maybe you say, hey, you know what, that Mr. Cheat Sheet special blend is a bunch of crock. Let's go over to Steamer. You do that, and boom, you're going to have some new values to look at. Oh, okay, now Miguel Cabrera is $46 value. So those values are going to be based on the projections that you chose. So make sure to choose projections you like, because that'll determine precisely what you're seeing in the draft. What I switched over to here is a somewhat already filled in draft board, so you get a sense on how the draft will change as you're going through. As players are put up for auction, you can say who won the auction by putting that there, and then you can say, oh, they won Freddie Freeman for $30 and put that there. So that'll change values for other players based on how many dollars are left, and you can see already the adjusted values are different from the original values for players now based on how this particular league is going with their bidding. So now that you have all that there, you can start to look at these other sheets, and they'll be affected by what has already happened throughout the draft. So this is a positional worksheet. This is a new feature, and you can see some players are already crossed off. Prince Fielder is already gone. Goldschmidt's gone. These are players remaining at each position, and it says what their expert original value was, what their projected worth value is, and who they are. So you can start to look and see, well, maybe I want to put a third baseman up for bid. There's already a lot gone, and here's what's left. Maybe I want to do that. So this is just something to glance at as you're going through the draft to see the market at each position. The player profile page, this will give you a chance to really think about when a player's up for bid, maybe if he's worth bidding on, and you can compare him to somebody else if you'd like. And then also within here, if maybe your team is Who's Your Daddy here, you can see, okay, if I get Ian Kinsler, he's actually going to end up hurting my team a little bit because he's not too great in home runs, and that's actually going to affect my team's output in home runs. So the live standings page, this is where you can see where is everybody projected to be based on how the draft is going so far. And you can see in this particular case, Jabba's Palace is kicking a lot of butt. They've bid on a lot of players. They've spent a lot of money. And right now, yeah, they're projected to be in first place. But that's also because they have more players than everybody else. But this kind of gives you an idea of, okay, if you're maybe the droid you're looking for, that's your team, then you might say, okay, well, I need to start working on stolen bases here. I'm starting to fall behind. So this gives you a good glance at what categories you might want to improve upon. And then team summary, this also shows you how your team is looking so far with the who's projected to be a starter, who's not. So this is a lot of stuff to look at. And as the draft is going, it might get kind of crazy with all these players already filling up your board. So if you want, you can hide the drafted players and then just look at what's remaining and see, okay, all the drafted players are gone. So this is everybody who's left. Who do I want to put up for bid? What's everybody's value? So that's basically how it goes throughout the draft. As somebody comes up, you're going to be marking who ends up getting them, and you're going to be able to mark what the bid was. In that case, you see I kind of messed up by having him hit him before I put in the team name. What I recommend is putting in the bid first, and then put in who got them if you are hiding those values. So, for instance, Alan Craig goes for $20, and then say who got him, and then he'll be hidden automatically. So that's pretty much the gist of it. You're marking off players, you're looking at what their values are according to a variety of sources here, you're seeing what their projections are, and you're seeing who is left out there, you're looking at all these projection sources and seeing how certain players will affect your team. And you're seeing how the draft is going, seeing how much money is left for each team, getting to see all your starters, and hopefully kicking butt in your draft as a result of all of this. What I recommend is before your draft, make sure to make a lot of notes so when the time comes, you got those at your disposal, and then just pay special attention to all this data here. But make sure you're picking sources that you have some faith in. So maybe do some research ahead of time as far as which projection source is your favorite, which auction value source you'd like to have there at your disposal, and even which expert rankings you'd like. Because all of that will determine what values you're seeing within your draft. So this is totally your cheat sheet. This is customized to be exactly as you want it to be so that you have all the data at your disposal during your auction so you can kick major booty. So enjoy it, ask me questions on the website, shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to help you out. But hopefully this helps you out on draft day, and yeah, happy drafting.